All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to week one of your data analysis course. I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. But before anything else, can everyone hear me clearly? If yes, drop a yes in the chat right now. Let's establish that first. All right. All right. All right. I can see that. Yeah, you guys can hear me. Perfect. And can you also see my screen? I'm currently sharing a screen that says Data Analyst Workbench. Yeah, okay. So, great. So, tonight's session, as you can see, is called the Data Analyst Workbench. And what happened is I chose this particular name deliberately because a workbench is where a craftsman does his work, right? This is where they have their tools laid out, where they know exactly what each tool is for and how to use it, right? So this is what we are building tonight. We are trying to set up your mental workbench to give you the foundation, the framework, and the full picture of what the next 12 weeks will look like. By the end of tonight's class, you'll know exactly what data analysis is, exactly what it is, how analysts think, what tools we will use, and what you should expect for the next few weeks. So let's get into it. Right. So going straight into it, before we talk about data analysis itself, we need to talk about data itself, right? Because sometimes people hear the word data and they think it's something complicated or technical. It's actually not. Uh, Let me ask you a question and I want you to answer in the chat. Don't overthink it. When was the last time you interacted with data today? When was the last time you think you interacted with data today? Just type it in the chat and just be some short words. When was the last time you think you interacted with data today? Think about what data is and when last you think you interacted with data today. Please, I would like the class to be interactive to know that you guys are with us so that everything will go fine. So you're not getting any response from anyone. Someone here said 30 minutes ago. 30 minutes ago. All right, Matthias said 30 minutes ago. So yeah. So I don't know what you did with data. Ahmad Zubairu said, even now we are interacting with data. Now, Stephen said now, right? So basically all this, if you think about what data is, all this is actually data, right? What we're doing now is data. All of this is data. Sorry. Coming, sorry. So when you look at the definition on the screen, it says data is any collection of facts, figures, or information that can be recorded, stored, and used to draw conclusions. Now look at the four examples on the right side we have here, right? The right side of this slide. These are not examples from one big organization. When people think about data, they start thinking of a large, well-renowned organization, or you're talking about forex or things like that. Some people look at it like this way. These are examples from our everyday Nigerian reality, right? A shop owner writing down daily sales in a notebook, that is data collection. That notebook is a data set. Maybe a hospital recording patients' names, ages, and diagnosis. That is also data. Every time a doctor writes something down, they are creating data. right? So your phone tracking your daily step count, that is data. The phone is collecting information about you automatically. And my favorite one, which is a market woman who knows which product sells fastest on Fridays, right? She might not have a spreadsheet, she might not even write it down, but that knowledge is in her head. That is data. It's just unstructured, but it's data, and she's already doing analysis without knowing it. I know I have someone that sells small chops close to me. On Fridays, actually, she sells more of puff puff and donuts because she is close to Jumat mosque. So because of that Friday prayer, once people are done with their prayers, they go to her place and like before 30 minutes after prayer, she sells almost everything she has there. So definitely she would have recorded this. She knows that she doesn't have to write it down for her to know that her small chop sells more on Friday and during that prayer time, right? So, but now you should look at the bottom of the slide, right? This is the key statement I want you to remember. Data on its own is just raw information. It doesn't mean much until you organize it. That is where we come in, right? So, so if data is the raw material, what is now data analysis? What is data analysis? So data analysis is the transformation process, right? Data analysis is the transformation process. We see they say it's the process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data to discover useful information, draw conclusions, and support decision making. In even simpler terms, you can just say data analysis is how you take a pile of raw information and turn it into clear, useful answers. This is what data analysis is. As if you look at the diagram in the middle, on the left you have raw information, right? This is just raw information, messy, scattered, is unorganized, numbers and words thrown together with no clear meaning, right? While on the right you have useful answers right here, a clean chart, a clear story, insight someone can act on, right? Basically a report. And in the middle is data analysis. This is where you fall in. The machine that does the transformation from raw information to useful answers, right? So this is what data analysis is. Now, if you look at the diagram, sorry, if you look at what we have at the bottom of the slide, because this is what we'll use as our case study for the 6 weeks of the Excel part of your data analysis course. This is the Kano retail store case study, right? This is the exact same data, like I said, we are going to be working with for the next 6 weeks. So what we have is I will show you the data and it's going to be shared on the Google Classroom. I'll share the link to the Google Classroom with you guys. You have 30 raw grocery sales transactions recorded over the past year. And the output is the questions we can answer, like which products generates the most revenue, which region do our biggest customers come from, and things like that, right? The value, the value, this will probably help the manager decide what to stock, where to focus, and what to reward. This is basically what data analysis is. That is what you'll be able to do by the time we finish this program. Any questions before we move on, drop it in the chat so that we can just take in what we have here. If anyone has any question, please drop it in the chat. All right, so I'll assume we have no question. I don't know what's wrong with this. All right. Now I would like to show you guys how data analysis actually works, the process from start to finish. Because every professional data analyst follows these 5 steps, whether they are working in a startup somewhere in Lagos or a corporation in London, they all work towards these five steps. Step one is collect. This is where you gather the data you need. It could come from a spreadsheet, a database, probably a POS machine export, a Google form, even a manual record. The key questions at this stage, right, the collect stage, are: where did this data come from? Is it complete enough to answer my question? This is the key questions you would have in the collect stage. Step two, which is clean. This is where most beginners are surprised, right? Because real world data is almost always messy. There will be blank cells, spelling errors, duplicate records, dates in the wrong formats. So before you can analyze anything, you have to clean the data first and see that yellow box we have here. So of course, because the cleaning stage is the longest. So because of this garbage, we've been saying this for years: garbage in, garbage out, right? That is one of the most important things in data analysis. If you analyze dirty data, your results will be wrong. No matter how good your formulas are, this is often the longest step. So for that reason, we will spend all of week two on this particular data cleaning. Funny enough, in Python is one of the also the longest step as well, even if you are using Python, though it's easier in Python to clean your data than it is in Excel. But it's still a place where we need to spend a long time both in cleaning and filtering, which all falls under cleaning actually. So step three, we talk about analyze the data, right? Now it's time for you to explore. You are supposed to look for patterns in step three, calculate totals and averages, compare groups, filter records, ask questions of the data. So in Excel, we use formulas, filters, and pivot tables. In Python, we use something called pandas, right? So this is where the magic, after cleaning, this is where the magic will happen. So step four is visualize. So we have collect, clean, analyze, visualize. So numbers in a table are hard for most people to read quickly, right? So visualization means turning your findings into charts and dashboards that tell a story at a glance. Once if someone takes a glance at your chart or your dashboard, they should be able to understand what's happening, right? The goal is to tell a story in just some seconds. So we'll go through visualizations very soon, but dashboards in Excel will be in week 6. So step 5 is communicate. So the last step is sharing your findings with the people who need to act on them. A manager, a client, maybe it was a contract to a client, a board. So you have to present clearly and confidently, even to people who are not data people. They are not technical, you understand? So because a great analysis that nobody understands is basically useless. You are the only one that understand what you did. So your analysis is useless. So these 5 steps are your framework for every single analysis you will ever do. It might be broken up somewhere else, but they still fall back into these 5 steps. And in this program, probably you'll say, well, maybe I'll share this, but you should take note of these 5 steps. You cannot skip one. You have to have them in your workflow, right? So we have collect, clean, analyze, visualize, and communicate. So uh, with that being said, I know some of you might have gone through some of these things, but we can still take note of it. All right. So the measurement metrics, the two types of data we have. Now we need to talk about the types of data you will encounter, because not all data is the same, and understanding the difference between the data types changes how you work with them, right? There are two main types. So take a look at the slide. For here we have the quantitative and qualitative data. On the left, quantitative; on the right, qualitative data. So quantitative, as mentioned here, is data that can be measured and expressed as a number. meaning you can perform mathematical operations on it, you can add it, subtract it, average it, and maybe compare it, right? So this is what quantitative data is. Examples will be in our data set will be the unit sold, revenue in Naira, unit price in Naira, right? So on the right, you have the qualitative data. This is data that describes a quality or characteristic. You cannot add it or average it, but you can group it, count it, and categorize it, right? So the example we have in our data set you see later is the region. You have region, the product, the kind of product, and payment method, right? This is what we have. So when you have a data set, please, I would like you to respond to this. When you have a data set, like a typical sales data set, and you know a lot of data set comes with dates. Is date quantitative or qualitative from this our explanation? Give us the response in the chat, please. Is date quantitative or qualitative? We will stop you until you guys respond, please. We need to know if date is aha. You said it's quantitative and say it's quantitative. Yeah, all right. So quantitative. All right. Now the thing is with date is that date is actually very interesting because it can be both actually, depending on how you use it. As a specific date, it is qualitative. You are talking about a specific date, it's just a label. But when you extract the month number or calculate the days between two dates, you are treating it as quantitative. So, but this is, we are going to explore this more in week 5. So that's how interesting date is. Depending on how you use it, it can be qualitative or quantitative, right? So we'll get to see that's actually good because the first thing that comes to mind is you think it's quantitative. So thank you for the response. Thank you for interacting as well. So, so the formatting metrics, order versus chaos. So let me show you one more important distinction. Apart from the dates being qualitative and quantitative, there is structured and unstructured data, right? If you look at the left side of the slide, this is structured data, which is our focus actually. It's organized in clear rows and columns, right? Obviously, you know this will be what we'll be dealing with. It's organized in clear rows and columns. Every row is one record. If you have a row like this, you know what row is from here. Oh, sorry. Let's say these two, all the records in two here is one row, right? So every row is one record. Every column, on the other hand, like column A here, is one attribute. So computers and humans can both read this easily. This is what our data set and most data set will look like, right? But if you look at the right side, which is the unstructured data, there are no rows, no columns. Some are a handwritten receipt. You're talking about a computer. Maybe we are talking about maybe a voice note. A computer can't read that without special tools. You need special tools to do that, right? Maybe you're talking. This is a, let's say this is a WhatsApp voice note. No structure. There's no structure. A paragraph of customer feedback here we have here. You can read it, but you can't filter it or sort it in Excel. That is why structured data is so powerful. It's immediately workable, right? Now, some of you might be thinking, what about the voice notes and the receipts? These ones have information too. So yes, they do have information, but analyzing unstructured data requires advanced AI tools. And this is something we also do in our data science class. We have data science class where we learn how to uh, make sense of unstructured data, right? So we deal using like things like computer vision and natural language processing. You might be hearing NLP. So But that is not what we are doing in this program. We are focusing entirely on structured data, right? So example, the data set I told you that we'll be using is structured. It's messy, but it's structured. It's exactly the kind of data you encounter in most businesses and organizational settings, right? So that's what you need to know. Now, the analyst workspace, right? So before we open Excel, I want to make sure we all speak the same language. If you take a look at this slide, it's basically a visual glossary. Maybe when you have the notes, you can go through it yourself. So these are the terms I will use in every single session, and I need you to know what they mean, right? So we can just go through them. If I say a data set, it's basically a structured collection of related data. Now, when you have any Excel file or something like that, that's a data set. When I say a row, where's my cursor? All right. So when I say a row, I'm talking about a horizontal line, so representing one complete record. So in our data set, each row represents one complete transaction, right? When I say maybe a column, you know, is a vertical line. A, like this column A, would include a what? Represents one attribute of that transaction. Probably column, this date column is one attribute of the transaction and the rest, right? So when I say a cell, is the intersection of a row and a column. In the intersection of a row and a column, this is what a cell is, like this cell that Lagos was typing, right? So now a workbook, right, is the entire Excel file. One file, our file is one workbook, while a worksheet or sheet is a single page within a workbook. We'll see that now. So a formula which we have here is basically an instruction that performs a simple calculation. Let me just say a simple calculation. So if you look at the formula we have, formula bar we have in this diagram, it shows that it's equal to sum D2 to D5. So that formula is telling Excel to add up the values in cells D2 through D5, right? So cell reference, on the other hand, is the address of a cell. Like this, what's it called? Let's say A1 is what? Date is the address, or the address for date is A1. So that's what cell reference is. You use cell reference to tell Excel where exactly your data is, right? So what we have at the bottom here is one thing that students tend to uh, confuse, right? What is different between a workbook and a worksheet? The workbook is the entire file. A worksheet is basically a single page within that file. So I think if you have any question at this point, we should be able to answer them. Please, if you do have any question, let us know. All right, I think we have a question. Mr. Amaswell, please, you can unmute your mic and ask the question. You're muting your video, your camera. You can use the mic instead. Is okay, Malam Ahmed. It's because of the use case, right? So when you look at when you look at people that are trying to learn like the skills, data analytical skills, you have to consider where they want to apply those skills, right? where they wish to apply those skills. When you are trying to learn, if it's even if it is data analysis, data science, and maybe data engineering, there are a lot of aspects in this that are domain specific. You can apply these skills in multiple domains, maybe just like you mentioned, maybe in the health sector. It's not just about financial sector. In the health sector, you can apply this particular analysis probably in academics as well. And maybe when you talk about research, you can apply, and there is also a need for these skills. But most times we look at those, we have different classes. That's why what we do is we have data analysis for researchers, we have data analysis for students, we have based on what you want to do. But at default, we would assume that these are people that want to either switch careers or want to upgrade their skills. And the most likely domain they work in, or what they will definitely work in, is going to have something to do with finance. And finance happens to be one of the easiest, what's it called, domain to actually use when you want to teach data analysis, because these are things that people can relate to easily. If I start up like now, we when you are dealing with data science, you are talking about computer vision. The last project, I think, custom project for our students was for them to analyze Nigerian produce, crops we have in Nigeria. They are supposed to create a model, AI model, that can detect the different types of crops. So basically, if it sees a maybe beans, it should be able to know that this is a beans, not a millet. If it sees a millet, you know that this is a millet, and so on and so forth. Rice as well, right? So that's other domain. But when you are just trying to teach data analysis, like general data analysis, one of the easiest and like the go-to path we have is using the financial domain, because most likely most of the people you are teaching would one way or the other use those skills in that aspect. And still on, even if they are not in that field of work, they can still use those skills elsewhere. So I know that I understand what you are trying to say. Why is it that the focus on is the general, but when you are trying to go to a specific domain, then you seek for that. But as a beginner, this is what is normally used, because it's something you can relate to. When I say I went to Mrs. This thing to buy Maggi, this particular amount, it's very easy for you to relate to that. You understand? But when I start talking about a particular field, this is not something that, when maybe in the health sector, this is not something that is general. This will be just for those that deal with that. That is the reason why. Financial sector is more general and everybody understands it. That's why. Any other question? Does that clear your question, please? All right, you're welcome. Any other question, or should we keep going? All right. So so let's keep going. So all these ones are just what you need to know. If you bring everything together, the way it works. So you have the raw data, the preparation, the interrogation, the revelation, and then the action. The steps you go into, from cleaning, from collecting to communicating and deciding, right? So that's what we have. So the action, like I said, the action part, the very last step of your journey, is where you present your findings to whoever gave you this job, right? So the insight is, for instance, this particular product is a prime revenue driver. The decision is double the inventory, order for product X, and drop the bottom three underperforming products, things like that. So this is the insights, right? So that's the journey from a messy file to a decision that changes how the store orders stuff, for instance. So for our use cases, like I said, it's going to be financial data. But in the course of our program, if you have any other thing or question you would like to bring up, we don't have enough time to cover everything. our time is limited. So that's why we are going to use a particular use case. So, and I want you to notice something actually. The analyst in this particular story or what we've gone through doesn't need a PhD. They didn't need to know machine learning, like I was mentioning in data science, right? You just used Excel formulas, pivot tables, one bar charts, and then you've created real business value. That is what this particular program is about. We are trying to get you into the field of data analysis that you can grow from there. You know, they say even for data science, the first step is to be an analyst. So, what's the market impact? Just like the question Mr. Ahmed Bell was asking, what's the market impact of data analysis in Nigeria? Right? So, let's see how data analysis is being used right now across different sectors in Nigeria. Because I want you to see that this is not something foreign or just like a distance. This is happening right now. And if you, I know that most of you are already working, so you know people are looking for data analysts, right? So when you talk about retail and trading, you might have a wholesale trader that uses sales data to identify which products moves the fastest before Ramadan so that she can stock up early, no guessing. Like you can have a data driven decision making, right? In the health sector, you can have a clinic that analyzes patient age records to figure out which age group visits the clinic the most and uses that to plan staffing and opening hours, right? So in education, apart from the issue of research and academics, you can have school principals that are tracking students' performance. So, like I said, this is the general knowledge data analysis. So, a school principal tracking student performance across multiple terms. Sorry, someone called me. I'm in class. All right, so please, can you guys hear me? Because my network went off for a bit, so I'm not sure if you can still hear me. Okay, okay, thank you. All right, all right. So, um, where did I stop before this guy? Oh, yeah. So, school principals and maybe class teachers can track students' performance across multiple terms so that they can identify which students are at risk of failing before exams, right? In agriculture, farmer cooperatives can maybe uh, use data analysis to compare crop yields by location and season to decide what to plant and where in the next year to come. So that's data analysis that is saving livelihoods, right? So government, state authorities use data analysis to map population and poverty data to decide where to build new roads and hospitals. So this is public policy driven by data as well, right? Banking and finance, almighty banking and finance, financial institutions also scan transaction logs that they use to detect unusual spending patterns and flag fraud before it causes any particular damage or something. So I would like to ask you, think about the sector you work in or you want to work in. How could data analysis add value there? So you can drop your answer in the chat or even just think about a sector that you think this is a way data analysis will drop value. So before you're done with that, let me get ready for something else. All right. No one wants to respond. So no response for you guys. So is there a sector? How do you think agriculture? Thank you. So it can help to know the management measures that works best during the planting season. Thank you, Mr. Steven. Right. True. 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 So the reason why it's important to start thinking about things like this is because at the end of the program, we'd like you to have a portfolio that you are going to uh, create, that you have a portfolio with projects that is going to be channeled towards maybe a particular sector you would like to, you already either where you work in or where you would like to work into. You would have projects, you would have created a project on your own in that particular sector that you'll be able to showcase as your portfolio. So you should start thinking about things like this right now and how to apply it. Retail and trading, it can help in bookkeeping and accounting. Thank you, Mr. Musa Abdullahi. Thanks for that response. All right. All right. So let's keep let's continue. So I know we've talked about this before, but let's still go through it again so that I do hope that you guys have Excel, like I mentioned before. Let's talk about the tools and more importantly, let's say why we are going to use them in the order we are using them with now. So if you look at this slide, on the left, we have Microsoft Excel, which is the foundation. It's going to be from week 1 to 6. Everybody knows what Excel is. It's just basically a spreadsheet tool for cleaning, organizing, analyzing, and visualizing data using formulas and pivot tables, right? So on the right, as you can see, the purpose, it teaches you how to think about data without the complexity of writing code. While on the right is Python, scale and automation, right? So it's going to go through weeks 7 to 12. So Python is a programming language using Jupyter, Pandas, Matplotlib, and Seaborn. You'll know what these things are when we get to it. So the bridge in the middle, this bridge in the middle is the key because Excel teaches you how to think about data without the complexity. You don't have to worry about writing code. You already used to thinking about data, right? While Python lets you to express those same ideas, filtering, aggregating, visualizing, but through code. So you can do it faster at larger scale and automatically, unlike your drag and drop you have to do in Excel. So a lot of people usually ask, why not just start with Python? Why bother about Excel at all? And this is my answer. When you learn to filter data in Excel, usually you what happens is you visually click and see the result immediately, right? So you understand what filtering means, what it does, what it produces. So when you then write a code, which you'll see later on in Python in week 8, you already know what you are asking for. You've already done it in Excel, so it's easier to understand, to translate it. That okay, this is what I'm asking for. You are just learning a new language for a concept you already understand. This is why we are doing Excel first. But if you put, if we are to say, let's say we want to start with Python first, you are learning the concept and the syntax at the same time. That's like twice the load, right? So it's harder, it's slower, and sometimes more likely a lot of people will be discouraged, right? So we are going to start with Excel first, Python second. So and then we trust the process, everything will go smoothly. And of course, we know that these 12 weeks will not be enough to do everything you need to do, but that's that. So, all right, that's it. That's the map, the full 12-week blueprint. So I want you to see the whole journey at once. We are here right now, right? So week one, introduction and Excel interface. Yeah. Uh, you can see the location and everything. Week two is data cleaning, like I mentioned before. This is where we take our data set and fix the mess. Week three is sorting, filtering, and the lookup, VLOOKUP. I don't know if we're going to just do only V, we'll see that as well. Week four is core functions, right? And then week five is advanced functions and pivot tables. So all this is just to get you to ease you into Python, right? So week six is when we're going to talk about charts, dashboards, and storytelling. So that's basically your Excel milestone right here. So here at week six. Then we cross into phase two, where we talk about Python and automation. So you look at Jupyter Notebook, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, and then we look at our final capstone project. So I'll send the slide to you so that you can save it and you see how, so that as you're working, you see how far you've come, see how much is still ahead, use it to stay focused. So we know exactly where we are going and we are going there together. Any questions about the roadmap? Before you answer that, let me get your, let's see the Excel. All right. So let's go to Excel. Where is it? So this is the what we have, the data set we are going to be using for this particular Excel phase. So this is the data set we'll be working with for the entire Excel phase, 6 weeks. So it's just a basic Nigerian retail sales data set with 300 transactions and 11 columns. So before we even look at the data, let's look at what we are, let's understand what we are looking at. This sheet is called the data dictionary. It tells you what each column means and what type of data is the column contains. So if you look at transaction ID, I hope I'm sharing. I know I'm sharing. Okay, yeah, I'm sharing the screen. So if you look at transaction ID, you can see that it's qualitative. It's not something you can calculate. We talked about qualitative and quantitative, right? So, but when you look at something like the revenue column, that's quantitative. It's a number you can sum, average, compare. So maybe you'll get familiar with this data set when I share with you. So this is the data dictionary sheet. So let's see the sales data sheet. Let's talk about the tool we use for the next 6 weeks, Microsoft Excel. So even if you've used Excel before, I want you to see it through fresh eyes today, right? So the workbook, like I explained, you know the difference, the whole thing. What we have opened the whole is now is the workbook. Inside it, you have sheets, right? These tabs that are at the bottom. Right now, I'm looking at the sales data sheet, right? And then there is the data dictionary. Each sheet is like a separate page in the workbook. That's the difference. Rows, columns, and cells, right? You know what columns are. Columns run vertically, right? All this particular part, these are columns, while rows run horizontally. I wanted to say horizontally, right? So where a column and a row meet is called a cell, right? This is A1 top, which is the top left corner. As you can see, cell reference is referencing A1. Don't worry, I'm still going through this. I know some of you know all this, right? So you can click on any cell and look at the name box we have here on the top left. This is the name box, and it tells you exactly which cell you are in. So let's say we click on the revenue header here. Sorry, here. So it's saying this is cell what? I1. It's saying this is cell I1. So that's it for rows, columns, and cell. You know what the ribbons are. So the ribbons at the top, ribbons we have at the top is your toolbox. The main tabs we use are going to be the home tab, insert, data. This will be the main, not the only one, but the main tabs and formulas tab, right? So you know the home is for formatting, font, alignment, and the rest. Insert tab allows you to add things to your sheets, charts, tables, pivot tables, and the rest. And probably you have an external, something you want to export into the sheet, you use insert. The data tab is used for sorting, filtering, data validation. And then the formulas tab, all your functions live here. Now, one thing you need to know about Excel is you can't do everything in a particular program. There are a lot of things in Excel that takes a lot, consumes a lot of time to learn. But good thing is with what we have today, once you understand the concept, a lot of things you can even do on your own, right? So we just want to walk you through the concept, the foundation, and then go into Python. It's not as if we are going deep into Excel. All right. So, let's talk about most of you are used to the shortcuts, but you also know that there are navigation shortcuts. What control can do for you. I have an Excel shortcut sheet, cheat sheet that I will send to you guys so that you can see through it. As you can see, if we scroll down the headers, the name of each column does not disappear. This is because we've frozen this particular row that has these columns, right? Using freeze, you fix, because most of the times when you have large data sets and you are trying to scroll through, the name of each column just disappears and you find it difficult to know where you are and what you're trying to do. So you can fix that by freezing the first row. So that's that for what we have in this particular class. If you don't have a question, we can call it a day so that we can start face tomorrow proper, inshallah. Any questions so far? Any question? So I would assume, all right, is someone trying to say something? Yes, please. It will be shared in the group. It will be shared in the group, of course. And also, there will be a Google Classroom because we need to keep tabs of what you guys are being taught. So bear with us. Some of the things, even if they are not in the group, they will be in the classroom. We'll share the invite to you guys so that you can join the classroom. You'll be seeing updates. Mails will be sent to you. So yeah, everything done will be shared, including the video of this particular class we have. You're welcome. So, in the absence of any question, any other question actually, how do we fix the header? All right, Mr. Steven is asking how we fix it. This is just a sneak peek. We are going to see that, inshallah, tomorrow. Don't worry, thank you. We are going to see that tomorrow. Uh, when we start, we'll see how to freeze panes. Don't worry. That even reminds me, please, you would come across, I don't, some of you might have been working with Excel and you come across a lot of things problems you've been having difficulties with. You can ask, even if it's not part of the class, you can ask the questions either in the group, probably like it's going to be better if it's in the group so that others can also benefit, or you can inbox me privately and I can give you I can solve the problem. I can give you answers to your questions. So it doesn't have to be what we dealt with in class. If it's something, I know Excel can be troublesome, especially if you use it regularly. If I come across some issues you find difficult to fix, you can ask me, because like I said, the time frame we have, it's not going to be enough to exhaust a lot of things we need to do in Excel, right? So you might come across some issues, especially when you decide to run, maybe you want to carry out some projects in Excel yourself. You might come across some issues that we will not discuss in class. We can't do everything. You can ask, and we can see, we can make it a class, or I can make it a video, and we can see how to address that issue. All right. So this has been a very interesting class, and I hope you benefited a bit from it. I I will also share the notes with you so that you can just go through it a bit. Thank you for your time, and I think we can call it a night without any other questions. All right, good night, guys.